So this evening we've got some great physicians and other folks that are experts in the field of healthcare and its delivery to bring to you. The first one I'd like to introduce is Dr. Venu Julapalli, who is the founder and president of the Integral Gastroenterological Center with an active practice in Houston, Texas. With an extensive experience in the front line of the American healthcare system, he has engaged in the best of what is traditional allopathic medicine, but he found that it wasn't fulfilling. So at that point, his mission with his brother Venu was to collaborate with others to renew, reimagine, and evolve the practice of medicine. Dr. Julapalli serves on the board of directors for the Center for Integral Wisdom. He is an activist with this think tank whose mission is to evolve the source code of humanity. Sounds like quite a goal. Led by a team of spiritual luminaries, business leaders, authors, activists, the Center for Integral Wisdom aims to advance the leading edge of spirituality, psychology, entrepreneurship, and the sciences around the world. And now, Dr. Julapalli.
Hi, I'm Dr. Venu Julapalli. We're entering a new era of healthcare in America. It's a time of great promise. It's also a time of great change and a time of great uncertainty. What I'd like to do in this session is to outline an arc, a trajectory of where we came from in the practice of medicine, where we're at now, and where we can go. Modern medicine as we know it came of age in the 20th century. This brought in what I'd like to call Health 1.0. Now, what were the strengths of Health 1.0? Well, our autonomy. We as physicians were free to practice medicine exactly as we saw fit, without anybody outside of us dictating what we could and could not do. It was also personal. We had personal connections with patients because there were no middlemen in between us. It was financially rewarding. We got paid in a fee-for-service model without any real cost containment, based on the volume that we did. Now, what were the weaknesses of Health 1.0? Well, we weren't practicing medicine as separate selves. We weren't really concerned about the larger system of healthcare we were practicing in. We were running a cottage industry where our care was heterogeneous, where the healthcare costs in one part of the country could be completely different from another part of the country for similar care. We weren't really practicing medicine based on standardized evidence, but more by anecdote and custom. And we weren't being measured on the quality of the healthcare we were providing. We were relatively more paternalistic. We prescribed to patients what they needed to do as deities. And if patients didn't follow our orders without question, they were non-compliant. There were also people who had no access to chronic health care in Health 1.0. And we were incentivized to do more tests and procedures because we were volume-based. We realized that this healthcare system was flawed. It wasn't the best healthcare we could deliver to everyone, and it was going to bankrupt us. So we woke up to what I'd like to call Health 2.0, and this has really been accelerated in Obamacare. Now, what were the strengths of Health 2.0? Well, we realized that we can't practice medicine as separate selves. We're connected to each other in an integrated healthcare system, a system that gets affected if practices and costs are one way here and another way there. It's one system. Health 2.0 makes healthcare more homogeneous, more standardized to references that help increase the value of healthcare we provide over just the volume. We're now more interested in evidence-based medicine, not just anecdotal medicine. And this helps standardize the practice of medicine. Obamacare certainly has increased access to chronic health care through insurance. And it's also encouraged an electronic medical record system that helps streamline health care and get it out of the cottage industry and into the 21st century. We now have the e-patient, the empowered patient who has a wealth of health knowledge at their fingertips, who can direct their care in a way that was impossible in the previous paternalistic system. Sounds pretty good, right? We can't go back to a healthcare system that was evidence-ignorant, volume-based, limited in access, and cost-unconscious, right? Well, but something's off. Something's not there with all of this. What's happened to us as physicians in this system? Where are our unique voices? Our voice is gone. Our uniqueness is being stamped out in the name of standardization of care. That essence of me and the way I practice and engage with a patient that makes me different from you. And I would add that essence of a patient that makes one unique from another. It's not there. In the move to eliminate separateness, we stamp out uniqueness. We conflate uniqueness with separateness. We think they're the same. They're not the same thing. And so we become cogs in this vast impersonal healthcare machine. We become commodities, chess pieces on a board that administrators move around in this big business of medicine. So what's happening to us as physicians? We're becoming disengaged, disembodied. We're losing our unique souls in this game. And we're either checking out or burning out. We're selling out to big hospitals and healthcare systems in this mass consolidation. The percentage of independent doctors nationwide has decreased from 57% in 2000 to 39% today. Or we're burning out. The percentage of doctors who listed retirement as their reason for leaving a group practice jumped to 18% in 2013, the highest level ever reported. What else happens in Health 2.0? Well, we become evidence enslaved. We're so hooked on metrics that our wisdom and intuition are distorted by statistics that constrain how we should be measured. Physician Danielle Ofri writes about an encounter she had with a patient in her 40s who was asking about getting a screening mammogram. Now, there was supposed to be about 5 minutes left in the visit. The evidence for this screening test in this age group has been quite conflicting. Dr. Ofri had recently received a memo from her department administrator that even though it wasn't clear whether mammograms are beneficial, neutral, or even harmful in this population, the physicians were nevertheless being urged to order the test. Why? Because regulatory agencies were using mammograms as a performance indicator to grade her hospital's quality of care. Now, Dr. Ofri could have just ordered the mammogram in 2 seconds and checked off the performance measure. Instead, she spent extra time, beyond the 5 minutes, to explain the controversy regarding the test. The patient decided to have the mammogram, but if she hadn't, Dr. Ofri's performance indicator would have been penalized. So who's offering the higher level of care? The doctor who shepherds her patient through the messy imperfections inherent in much of medical decision-making? Or the doctor who plays to the metric? When you have metrics that aren't capturing the level of healthcare Dr. Ofri is delivering, and when you have the keystone of our healthcare system, the doctor, checking out and burning out, you've got a problem. A big problem. And do we really want greater access of the American people to this? Do we really think this is going to save healthcare costs and increase value? Really? I'd like to talk now about the puzzle piece analogy. Dr. Mark Goffney talked about this in a wonderful book of his called Your Unique Self. Here's how it goes. Imagine you're a puzzle piece. You have these curves and edges to you. You treasure them, but you don't know there's a puzzle. You don't know that you're a piece that fits into a larger puzzle. You're a separate self. Now you wake up to the reality that, wait, there is a puzzle. There's this big picture that you fit into. You're not separate from this. You get all excited, and in your excitement, you look to stamp out your curves and edges so you can seamlessly fit into the big picture. This is your true self, as it's called. Trouble is, something's off. Because the more you try to smooth yourself out and homogenize yourself, the more you try to take away your special features to fit into the bigger picture, the more you actually don't fit in. Why? Because your unique curves and edges are what enable you to fit into the puzzle. The puzzle's seamless, but it's not featureless. And so there's another move. A move to a third stage. A move where you show up as your unique self. You celebrate your unique curves and edges. But you don't do this without the awareness that there's a puzzle, like you did as a separate self. You do it because you know there's a puzzle, and that's how you best fit in, by being more your unique self. This is Health 3.0, or unique self-medicine. In this move, we show up as our unique selves. Now what happens here? Well, our voice returns, our unique voices. They're no longer transferred to administrators, algorithms, and inhumane EMRs. No, our unique souls are back in the game. But it's not like Health 1.0. We haven't gone back to practicing medicine as separate self. We know we're connected to this larger healthcare system. And in order to make it thrive, we celebrate our uniqueness in it. The key to this is to honor the sanctity and uniqueness in the patient-doctor relationship. Physician Tom Janisse talks about the evolution of this relationship. Let's say in Health 1.0, you have the doctor up here and the patient down here. It's not symmetric. In Health 2.0, the patient is up here and the doctor down here. Now, it can become more symmetric in Health 2.0 with the patient and doctor on an equal level. But here's the thing. In Health 3.0, this is dynamic. It's not fixed. There's a shared responsibility in this relationship between the doctor and the patient. Sometimes the patient can be here directing the relationship and taking the authority, and at other times the doctor can be up here and use his or her experience, knowledge, wisdom, authority, and autonomy to direct the relationship. We now have the e-patient, but we also have an e-doctor, an empowered doctor, a doctor who's re-engaged, revitalized, alive. As physicians, we act as what John Mackey, founder of Whole Foods Market, in his great book Conscious Capitalism calls servant leaders. We both serve and lead in this relationship, and we both serve and lead in this healthcare system. The patient-doctor relationship becomes a person-person connection. The roles fall away, and we become a dyad. We've all had doctor-patient relationships like this, and they're what make healthcare beautiful. Now, what we're doing in this relationship is bringing out our unique selves to each other. The doctor brings out the unique self of the patient, and the patient brings out the unique self of the doctor. And so the patient rejuvenates our calling to the practice of medicine. And when this happens, healthcare is transformed from the inside out, not from the outside in. In Health 3.0, we hold evidence-based medicine in proper context. We're evidence-informed, not evidence-ignorant or evidence-enslaved. We don't do a bunch of unnecessary tests and procedures by anecdote and custom, but we're not constrained by evidence that was never meant to be applied robotically to the unique conditions of a unique patient care situation. And the evidence should more often inform us what not to do, rather than what to do, because disconfirmation of something is more revealing than confirmation of something that might be refuted later. We subtract rather than add in unique self-medicine. In other words, we would rather encourage taking a harmful substance away, like a food or a bad habit or a toxin, than to add a bunch of medicines. Because I challenge anyone to tell me exactly how all these medicines are interacting with each other, in a way that any evidence-based medicine could really inform. We recognize the power of our pen, or our keystrokes, I should say, in this age, because it's our orders that make or break the cost curve of healthcare. And we believe the only way to truly bend the healthcare cost curve down is to influence health behaviors in the context of a unique patient-doctor relationship that's built on trust and on love. In unique self-medicine, we welcome metrics, but we don't want to cater to the lowest common denominator metrics. And we shouldn't fool ourselves into believing that the metrics we have today are the sole arbiters of what's good healthcare. We champion metrics that capture and reward the kind of care that Dr. Ofri is providing. And also, we tap into the spirit of the entrepreneur. There aren't enough physician entrepreneurs among us. I'm not talking about being promoters of the big business of medicine, this medical industrial complex. In that light, let's be honest, many people see us as wealth stealers, not value creators. How do we create value? True value. I feel like oftentimes patients are dissatisfied with medical care because they feel like they're getting ripped off. They're paying these big premiums, but they're not getting commensurate value in return. I see more entrepreneurship in chiropractors promoting wellness programs in their practices than in medical doctors. Why can't we physicians become wellness coaches and be rewarded for the value we provide? Why can't we join with chiropractors and other health advocates to provide this value? Do we really want to resign ourselves to being mid-level employees in a big conglomerate? The middlemen and women in what I call the Walmartification of medicine? No, let's be the risk takers. Let's be the artisans. Now, does this sound too risky? Too unsecure? What's wrong with having a secure job with a set salary, set hours, vacation time, and benefits? Well, I'd like to finish with a special danger that I see in Health 2.0 and Obamacare, and that's fragility. Nassim Taleb wrote a game-changing book called Anti-Fragile, and in it he explains the difference between fragile and anti-fragile. Something is fragile when shocks of increasing intensity cause greater and greater harm. Fragile systems don't like volatility. Their downside gets bigger than their upside in volatile conditions. Way bigger. Anti-fragile is the exact opposite. Something is anti-fragile when shocks of increasing intensity cause greater and greater benefit. Anti-fragile systems love volatility. They thrive on it. Their upside gets bigger than their downside in volatile conditions. Natural systems are anti-fragile. Evolution has been built on this. But in modern times, we've built systems that are fragile. Why? Because fragile systems want to reduce volatility. They want to make things more homogeneous, efficient. To do this, they centralize. They consolidate. Sound familiar? But in doing this, they take the risk underground. There's less mistakes, but when mistakes happen, they're concentrated and amplified, which takes the whole system down. The most recent example of this is the banking system, which is a fragile system we created that nearly imploded in 2008 when a shockwave went through this too-big-to-fail network. We're creating a healthcare system that I'm afraid is becoming more and more fragile. There may be small benefits, but a shock won't be distributed. Mistakes will become magnified, and the system will implode. This is the problem of centralization. Let me give you an example of this. Statins. Let's say you've got a system that promotes a meaningful use measure looking to bring down LDL. You get rewarded for this. So you put people on statins. Now we know that it takes about 100 people on a statin to prevent one person from having a first heart attack. That's after 5 years. And we also know that for every 50 people that we put on a statin, one person gets diabetes. And that for every 10 people on a statin, one person has muscle damage. That's what we know. What about what we don't know? For example, there are studies that suggest increased aggression with lower cholesterol levels and statin use. If we have a centralized system that promotes statins and incentivizes this promotion across the board, and we find later that statins do more sinister things, that mistake is concentrated and magnified, and that mistake would affect many lives. The solution to this is decentralization. Unique self-medicine champions decentralization in healthcare. In a decentralized system, a unique self-medical practitioner can, through trial and error, tinker with best practices while being evidence-informed, and be free enough to make mistakes but keep them small by collaborating with other unique self-practitioners on best practices. So the mistakes won't be concentrated and liable to take the whole system down. It's a bottom-up move, not a top-down approach. And I would caution physicians coming out of training and into practice that you may think you're taking on less risk as a physician employee in a big system, but the risk is all underground. When conditions get volatile, you'll get axed. But if you're a physician entrepreneur, you'll be anti-fragile to the volatility. You'll be more adaptable. In conclusion, we are waking up out of Health 1.0 and into Health 2.0. And I think we can show up as our unique selves in Health 3.0. And it would serve us well to grow up to making our system and ourselves as servants and leaders in this system anti-fragile to the gray zones inherent in healthcare. Wake up, show up, grow up. Unique self-medicine. Another way to look at this is imagination, collaboration, and evolution. I'd like to call on us to reimagine what we can be and do as physician entrepreneurs. We can re-own our voices and reimagine how we practice medicine. In this reimagining, we collaborate with each other, tinker together, learn as fellow artisans through trial and error what are best practices, how we limit our downsides and maximize our upsides. And in this collaboration, we've become evolutionary unique selves. We're consciously evolving the whole puzzle together. I'd like to end with this. Ken Wilber is the architect of a huge thought map called Integral. It's an amazing map that he's developed over 40 years, but he always emphasizes that it's just a map. It's not the territory itself. In that same vein, I'd like to emphasize that this is just our map of the arc of medicine. It's our framework, our narrative, our fable of medicine. It's meant to inspire, but it's not the territory. It's not intended to evolve anything by itself. The paving of the territory is evolution at work, and the territory is being paved, as we speak, by healthcare practitioners like you and me, who often anonymously tinker and tweak on the front lines and flanks of our healthcare system. And it's collaborative efforts like this summit where the territory gets further and further paved. Now, my brother and cardiologist Venu Julapalli and I are involved with the Center for Integral Wisdom, an activist think tank co-founded by Mark Goffney and Ken Wilber, and chaired by John Mackey, that's drafting maps and paving territory in business, entrepreneurship, education, entertainment, and medicine. If you want to learn more about our map, go to centerforintegralwisdom.org, and you can access our white paper, Unique Self and the Future of Medicine. That's centerforintegralwisdom.org. We hope to see you there, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Venupalli, and we appreciate you joining us from your location.
Thank you, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. And yeah, I just want to thank y'all for putting on this conference. I mean, it's really been great. I've been able to listen to some of the other sessions on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I wasn't able to listen to them today, but looking forward to catching up. And I've really enjoyed the speakers. The speakers are really unique self-medicine in action. So I really thank you guys for putting this on.
Awesome. Thanks, Venu. Hey, it's Lisa. My name is Dr. Lisa Chu. I've been here all week taking some visual notes and asking questions. And Venu and I are colleagues at the Center for Integral Wisdom. So it's great to be here. Great to have you, Venu.
Thanks, Lisa. How are you?
Great.
I liked a part of your presentation. I thought the whole thing was excellent, and you're trying to bring it back person to person, back to the patient-physician relationship. You spoke about a unique relationship where the patient and the physician can be unique to each other and individuals, as opposed to it being a large health system meets a large population.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to denigrate population-based observations, analysis, but when it comes down to it,
with regard
it's
to
a person-person interaction.
Population medicine experience.
When we want to use evidence-based medicine, we want to be informed by it. We want to use population statistics to kind of give us an idea. But, as we all know, when we're practicing medicine, we've got a patient in front of us. We've got an individual case, a unique situation. It's all about context. And if we apply evidence-based medicine as a rote standard way for that given unique situation, I think we're just making an error.
Absolutely. I've always practiced in family medicine for 20 years with the same sort of philosophy, where it's one-on-one when you're in the exam room, but now you're in the exam room with the EHR vendor, with the cable company, with the electrical company, with the computer company, with their insurance company, and there's unfortunately more company in a very small exam room. How do you connect with patients so that they don't feel depersonalized, that you're typing on your EHR when the patient is over there?
Well, I'll answer it generally and then specifically. My big theme, one of my big themes here is storytelling. So, when we're trying to elicit a conversation and a history from the patient, it's all about the story. They're telling a story, the story of how they got there, the story of their medical problems, and they're hearing a story from me as I'm listening to their story, and then acknowledging their problems, and we're sharing stories essentially. And I've been in practice for 10 years. I've had an EMR from the very beginning. I was never on paper. It was kind of a no-brainer for me to not start up paper. So I'm wired as anyone can. A computer in front of me and in front of the patient. So I keep the computer as unobtrusive as possible. I don't type stuff in as I'm talking to the patient. I step out, I finish up the note back in the office right then and there as best as I can. And I think having an EMR in between you and the patient is obstructive. And ultimately, for me, technology ought to be as unobtrusive as possible. That is actually the best technology, when it's like a glass window and not like a brick in front of you.
Right. In the last 3 minutes, what are your thoughts about the future of unique self-medicine and the person-to-person relationship that you're advocating for?
Well, I've really been encouraged by the speakers that have presented at the conference. I mean, people like Dr. Smith with Surgery Center of Oklahoma, Dr. Cavalli, mean, these guys, they had a spark, they had an imagination, they collaborated with their community, and they're evolving. They're evolving what they do in their community and beyond. And people are seeing them as examples of how this can actually work. So I think the future is encouraging. I mean, at times, as some of the other speakers have mentioned, you get a little discouraged because you don't quite know how many other people are out there just disconcerted like you are. But then you have conferences like these where you realize that there is an underpinning, there is a voice of discontent, but beyond that, there's the calling, and then there's a voice of action and execution, and people are doing it in their own unique way. And so I'm very encouraged by that. I actually heard Michael at the beginning talking about the internet, as nodes that all got connected, and that's how I kind of see the future. I see these nodes of physicians practicing in their communities, doing the things that they know best how to do, and connecting with each other in a nodal way, and sharing best practices with each other, but still being their own person interacting with their particular community. I think that's what I see as the future. That's what I certainly hope to see as the future.
Hey Venu, it's Lisa. Just a quick in our last minute and a half. We've been talking about fear, we've been talking about courage. I love the anti-fragile idea. Weren't systems built to decrease volatility, to address our inherent fear of volatility? And if we go to an anti-fragile system, what are some of the fears that we all have to confront and move through to become anti-fragile?
Well, I think, yeah, Lisa, I think you hit it. I mean, I think we all have to get comfortable with volatility. Volatility in the thinking of anti-fragile is not a bad thing. Volatility is actually what makes us stronger. And once we recognize that and are aware of that in ourselves, we can actually utilize volatility to make small changes, and in some cases even big changes, but again, limit our mistakes so that we don't, so that the fear does not get us, that it doesn't get the upper hand. I think when we, in any walk of life, when we start embracing change and volatility, then we actually have a grand opportunity to do something wonderful. And the more we kind of shy away from that, I think the more fragile a system we create.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Julapalli. I appreciate you being with us today, both your speech and personally from your location, and we hope you can join us again. Thank you.
Thank you, and I look forward to meeting with y'all in Keystone.
Thank you. And Dr. Chu, while you're here, can you give your and Dr. Venupali's contact information in case someone wants more information?
Sure. What did you want to share your email address, Venu, or the website? Is he on still? I mean, I can share.
The General Center would be great.
So yeah, the Center for Integral Wisdom. The URL for that is www.centerforintegralwisdom.org. That gives the overview of the massive project, yes, of rewriting the source code of humanity, and it really is that big. And we're multidisciplinary, and this is one of the projects in the center. Thanks for asking.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate you being here with us as well.